Have you ever wanted to SLI this? With this? No? Well, this guy has, so join him after the intro to find out how to do it and if it is even worth it. So, how are we going to SLI these cards together, I hear you ask? They're different cards, and NVIDIA doesn't allow it. Well, to answer that question, we're going to be using a program which you may have heard of already, Different SLI Auto, specifically Different SLI Auto 1.7.1, with NVIDIA driver 388.71, and a custom modded install script as well to better suit our system, which we'll discuss later on in the video. And speaking of the system that we'll be using today, it features return of the i7 6700K from our previous editing rig and GPU test bench, overclocked to 4.7 GHz with a 4.5 GHz cache overclock in a MSI Z270 SLI Plus motherboard. We're also using 16GB of DDR4 RAM at 3000 MHz with the timings we're using on screen now. Cooling wise, we're using a Phanteks TC14PE cooler, and for the OS we're using Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. The OS and games, or game as will become apparent soon enough, will be running from mechanical hard drives. Before we get on with setting the system up, we actually had a problem with the graphics cards during testing in that whenever we put the GTX 480 in the top PCIe slot on the motherboard, as you normally would during these scenarios, NVIDIA control panel just would completely freeze up as soon as you enabled SLI, and it just would not work at all. SLI wasn't enabled. Some programs like MSI Afterburner stopped detecting the 480 at all. So yeah, we just could not get that working. So for the purposes of this test, we've had to put the GTX 460 in the top PCIe slot on the motherboard, with the 480 on the bottom slot. So yeah, let's get the graphics cards in the system, and then I'll actually run you through how to set different SLI Auto up for this specific setup. And yes, I'm well aware of just how sketchy the setup is, and I do not care. HDMI plugged in. Also, before I forget, we have, I'm not sure if you can actually see that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we've got a jumper on the second power supply. We need that because obviously with it not plugged into the motherboard, it's not going to be getting the signal to turn on when we actually switch the main system on. So once you've started up and are on the desktop, you need to download Display Driver Uninstaller. There'll be a link to it in the description down below, and we use that to properly uninstall the driver, the previous driver, before we actually install the driver we're using to SLI the cards together. So you'll be presented with this prompt here. So you just click OK and get rid of any of the other prompts there. And you come over to Select Device Type on the right. Select GPU and obviously NVIDIA because we're doing SLI today. And click Clean and Restart. So we'll come back when that's done. So once we're back on the desktop, this is when you want to install the drivers you're going to be using. We're using NVIDIA driver 388.71, which is the latest driver that is officially supported with Different SLI Auto 1.7.1 that we're using. So we're just going to go ahead and install that. So what we normally do is click Custom, Next, click Perform a Clean Installation, deselect everything apart from PhysX and the graphics driver, and just click Next and wait for it to install. And once that's finished, this is where we start modifying the driver. So what you want to do is come down to the File Explorer and you go to the C drive, Windows folder, and keep scrolling down until you find System32. Don't delete that. Just keep scrolling through here until you come to Driver Store. Once you open that, go into File Repository, and usually you'll see it sorted by name, but if you click come over here and click by date modified, and you should have a folder that starts with nv_dispi.inf. So you want to click on that, and should find a file in here. Where is it? Called nvl_ddmkm.sys. So we right click and copy on that, and you come over to the folder where you extracted different SLI auto, right click, paste, and now that's sitting in there inside the folder with different SLI auto.exe. So we double click on the exe file here, and this is what actually modifies the driver file for us to enable SLI. So this should come up. It says 1.6.1 here, but it's not. That's a mistake. It is actually 1.7.1. So just click patch. It will tell you it's a Windows 10 driver, which we know it is, and patching should be successful. So yeah, now we're actually ready to reboot into safe mode and get the modified driver file installed. Quick way to do that is just click start and type msconfig to open up the system configuration. Go over to boot, the boot tab, and just click safe boot. Apply, OK, and restart. So we'll come back when we're in safe mode. So once we're rebooted into safe mode, you come back to the folder that you extracted different SLI auto 1.7.1-win10 to. So now all we need to do is double click install.cmd, and you'll get the command prompt coming up. And if you look here, as long as you get number of warnings 0, number of errors 0, number of files successfully signed 1, and this bit here that says operation completed successfully and 1 file copied, reboot now for changes to take effect. As long as you get that, it should have worked, basically. So we're back on the desktop now, and if we come down to here, go into Device Manager. Under Display Adapters, you can see that the 460 and the 480 are both there and enabled and working, which is awesome. So now we just right click on the desktop, click NVIDIA Control Panel, and once that's opened up, we should have the option on the left to go into the SLI and PhysX properties. Yes, we do. Set SLI and PhysX configuration, which means SLI should be able to be enabled here. So yeah, so click Maximize 3D Performance, click Apply, and for some reason it's wanting us to close these programs here. So yeah, just bring up Task Manager. One of them is Microsoft Edge. We don't want that anyway. So end task on that. Microsoft Text Input Application. So if you look for that, which is here, end task. Now the last two here, Start Menu, Experience Host, and Search App, these restart automatically after you end them. So you have to actually be quite quick. So yeah, right click on start and then end task, right click search, end task, and then quickly come over and click continue here. This bit here, in case you can't see the cursor. Just be quick with that. So end task. Oh, yeah, we weren't quick enough there. Silly Benchy. So yeah, right click, end, race over here to continue and click. Yay, see there. Look, now we have SLI. Creepy Benchy is creepy. Yes. So now it's time to move on to the actual benchmarks, and here is where we encounter our next problem. And that is that no game other than the original version of Crysis, not the remaster but the original version, no other game other than that actually worked with SLI at all in any way. And the problem is that you could launch the games, but the moment that any kind of load was put on the GPUs, the driver crashed. It basically just could not seem to cope with it at all. But even Crysis itself had problems here. With the DirectX 10 version of Crysis, it exhibited the exact same problems as all of the other games did. As soon as there was load on the GPUs, it crashed, and it just didn't work at all. DirectX 9 was actually fine though, and ran SLI fine, as you'll soon find out. But yeah, let's actually get some gameplay footage up on screen now and talk about the performance a little. As you'll see in the top left corner, neither card was fully maxed out. The GTX 460 tended to hover around 80 to 85% usage, with the GTX 480 around 55 to 60% throughout. This may actually change if we'd used an actual SLI bridge, instead of doing it purely through the PCIe slots, but we'll discuss why this wasn't possible in a bit. One other thing to keep in mind is that performance has been limited by the fact that we had to put the GTX 460 in the first PCIe X16 slot instead of the 480. One issue immediately noticeable was just how juddery the image was compared to even the 460 just on its own. This was especially noticeable when turning the camera, for example. It was just as noticeable throughout the entire test. Any parts of the test that tended to be more stuttery in previous tests showed no difference, as the appearance was so bad to the point that you wouldn't notice the stutter, if any, getting worse. And to make this even more worse, every test pass that we ran had one very significant lockup lasting between around 4.7 to as much as 8.1 seconds. This on its own disqualifies the SLI setup from even being considered, regardless of performance. If you have a GTX 480, just use that on its own instead, because as you can now see in the chart on screen, the 480 on its own performed much better benchmark figure wise than the 460 and 480 managed together. And to be perfectly honest, despite technically scoring lower than the SLI setup, in average FPS at least, the single GTX 460 on its own is a far better performer. I mean, yeah, it has its problems with the odd hitch here and there, some noticeable FPS dips at points, and some noticeable micro stuttering in the latter few minutes of the test, but it is still a far more comfortable experience overall. So yeah, to round out the video, was this actually worth it? From a purely sort of scientific point of view, I think that's a good way to describe it. It's most certainly a really, really fun thing to play with. From a gamer's perspective, someone who just wants to sit down at their PC and play a game, then no, I would not try this setup at all, because it literally only works in one game, and even that game has its problems, as you saw in the gameplay footage. One thing I would like to do in the future though, that I wasn't able to do in this video, is experiment with using an actual SLI bridge between these two cards. Exact same setup with different SLI auto, but with an actual physical SLI bridge, because in this setup, all the communication between the cards was just purely going through the PCIe bus. So that itself could have caused performance issues and such. I had actually ordered an SLI bridge to use with this, but it didn't turn up in time, so that's awesome. We'll leave the SLI bridge testing to a future date. To finish off the video though, I'd like to give shoutouts to Patreon supporters Shadow in the Void, Peter and Matty Sterak for helping to make all of this possible. You'll also see a list of our other patrons on the screen right now. And if you'd also like to support me in creating these videos, you can do so through my Patreon at patreon.com/BenchyTests. And if you don't want to become a patron, you can also support me through Ko-fi at kofi.com/BenchyTests. But if you would like to become a patron, you'll gain early access to all of my videos 3 days before Republic do, for as long as you remain a patron. So yeah, I don't know how to end the video, so yeah, see you next time.